I'm sorry.
Pat. One Irishman to the other.
Yeah, sorry. You look alike.
I was like, what did I do?
12 years old, 15 years old.
Yeah, don't read anything into that.
I'm going, nothing. Got one. Okay, all in favor of the change the agenda, aye?
Aye.
We're gonna mark Sue F. late.
Who seconded that motion?
Ellen, sorry. Donna, I missed you. I did the minutes. I missed you so
did a great
much.
job. I bet nobody's gonna need to correct them at all.
Okay.
I missed you for more than that reason. Donna. Just let you know. Okay. Next, approval of the minutes of April 17th. So move. John, have a second? Second, Pat? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Public participation?
Abstain for Jackie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, no public. Okay, is Mike Z doing it, or are you?
Mike Z is up.
Yeah, well, see, he did such a great job.
Encore performance.
Yeah.
Auditioned myself last time.
Aye, aye, aye.
Great to be back. This time Dan's back, but I'll go through the commentary and happy to answer any questions after I finish up. Slideshow is not going to correlate immediately, but we'll pick up into it a little way in. So with respect to the occupied portion in the construction tech lab, the dust collectors are awaiting a controller that was purchased via change order for the system to function as intended. Once the controller arrives, it will be installed, the dust collectors can be started up, and then the system can be balanced. Punch list items remain in progress. Work continues to occur after hours to not disrupt the student population. During April break, we were able to take advantage of the occupied space and complete the lingering items that weren't able to be completed prior. The middle school is trending for completion ahead of furniture. The first delivery occurs June 17th in the media center. The delivery for the rest of the middle school happens shortly after that and through July. The one exception in the middle school, as a reminder, is on the first floor of Area E for the STEM and makerspace rooms that are currently occupied. One's being utilized as a temporary changing room. In the summer, the ceilings from these rooms get removed temporarily to facilitate the installation of the pipe grid system, and then the ceilings will get reinstalled before they get repainted. We are final cleaned on the second and third floors in the middle school. What you're looking at here is the carpet installation in the presentation class zone area in the media center on the third floor. It's actually the same carpet that was installed in the high school media center, but the carpeting is complete and the final base work remains in progress. Next slide is showing a typical custodial closet with the mop sink and the eye wash station. The work that remains here is the insulation jacketing on the exposed copper piping, the vinyl base, and the mop holder accessory. As I had mentioned before, final cleaning is complete on the second and third floors. Here's a picture of just the recently cleaned art studio classroom on the second floor of Area F. And the next slide is showing the community restroom on the same floor in the same area. Just for a real-time update, the window contractor, Cherry Hill, has also begun cleaning windows on the inside of the building as well. Flooring installations have progressed significantly in the middle school. The picture here is showing completion of the corridor flooring on the second floor, and it's the same condition the floor above, minus the vinyl base installation. As of today, the corridor flooring on the first floor has approached the vestibule area and is nearing completion. Also shown in the picture here is the completion of the acoustical ceiling pads on the second and third floors. Yesterday, we received approval from the local building officials to pad out the ceilings on the first floor of Area F. That's the last area that we're seeing out the rest of the middle school. So those ceilings will begin to close and final cleaning will follow, along with development of punch list and completion of punch list. Next slide here is just showing some floor preparation on the first floor of Area F classroom. This room is actually complete as of today's date, but the picture was taken at an earlier date. Just showing some more progress there. Moving on to our Area H renovation. This picture is in the future first floor locker room area. The existing concrete slab has been removed. Installation of new underground plumbing systems, backfilling, that's complete. So the floor drains, clean outs, sanitary risers are all above or at finished floor elevation to receive the new concrete slabs. Concrete slab pour is actually scheduled for tomorrow, so it's a big milestone for the area. Next slide, same area here, just a little farther back towards your future middle school parking lot area. This is actually showing progress of the final elevator shaft, the pit, the foundation, and area H. If you kind of look above the shaft, there's an existing beam overhead that eventually gets cut out and shored permanently with masonry walls. That operation, of course, is pending the slab replacement happening tomorrow, as I had mentioned, and the masonry wall will be built shortly thereafter. On the left side of the elevator shaft there, those are 4-inch plumbing piping that is extending or entering underneath the existing footing as shown. Those are for your storm and your waste piping. It captures all the waste from the gym lobby and the runoff from the auto shop. You see a big hole there. That hole is actually underneath the existing footing and it eventually gets underpinned so the foundation remains stable. So we pour new concrete there. Staying in area H, here's a picture of the metal decking and the supplemental steel off to the left side. If you can see, it's a little dark in the picture, but that's actually for a roof drain. The metal decking has been inspected and it's been approved by the special inspector. Subsequent activities like parapet framing are ongoing as of today. It's actually above the metal decking. You can't see it, but that allowed that activity to start. Moving on to the new concrete foundations for the project. The final new concrete foundations for the project. Here's a picture taken looking down the gym lobby corridor, and the basketball base is located on the left side of the page. You can see it kind of jogs out. As of today, the slab for the gym lobby continuation and the auto shop is scheduled to be placed next week, weather pending, and the final new structural steel will start next Thursday, the 22nd. Again, just more major milestones happening in real time as the project progresses forward. Same thought process here on the next slide, except this is for the new auto shop footprint. At the time this picture was taken, the underground plumbing was substantially complete and the underground electrical beneath the subgrade had not happened yet. However, all underground MEPs are complete in this area, and again, slab placement is scheduled for next week, weather pending. Moving on to the site, here is a picture taken in the occupied courtyard for the seat wall granite cap that has finally been installed. It took a little bit to get the right product and the right radius around the seat wall, but end result, it looks great and just in time for some outdoor learning. Here's some progress showing athletic field topsoil stripping looking north. Lots of topsoil piles scattered around this area, but the city is actively loading and hauling out the excess. Report on the
They're gonna take it off? Up to this point?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
until they cry uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
right on.
Well, I didn't know if there was, we're gonna take it all and or up into a certain point, I just didn't know if that was, because that's a lot of topsoil.
Yeah, to clarify your point though, not all of it goes off-site. What we need
Right.
to keep on-site for the future work stays on-site.
Right. I'm talking about the excess.
Yeah, that's all going.
Okay. Thank you.
To report on the demolition side of things, here's a picture taken of the existing building F or B, whichever you want to call it, about a week or so ago. As of today, the building is no longer standing and they're processing the debris piles and hauling the waste accordingly. All that remains for the existing building that is standing is a partial of the industrial arts wing and mechanical spaces. And then lastly here we have a aerial drone shot taken in mid-April. Just to report on some cost impacts within the period, at time of bid, the general trades contractor was assigned with replacing the existing concrete slabs that were required to be removed in sections to facilitate the new underground plumbing piping in the existing locker room area. During removal of the concrete slabs, we encountered some unforeseen conditions related to the existing tunnel system that were not identified on the structural drawings, along with being left with slivers of existing slabs that cannot be doweled into and without busting it apart, to tie in the existing slab into the new replacement slab. Ultimately, the scope of work went from a trench replacement to a slab replacement, so changing the responsibility from the general trades contractor to the concrete contractor. Order of magnitude for the scope reassignments around $30,000 being applied to the CM contingency fund. briefly touched upon it there, but we're continuing to battle with time and recovery related to the turnover of Area H. As I had mentioned during last month's committee meeting, we got off pace with the demolition handoff to the successor trades that are following those activities. Concrete and steel subcontractors have been working premium hours over the last month to gain as much time as possible. Unforeseen conditions related to the tunnel closure walls, like I had mentioned, have consumed a lot of time, delaying slab placement until tomorrow, which was a few weeks over what we had originally anticipated. More unforeseen existing conditions are being resolved in communication with SLAM's structural team. A few others to mention were the discovery of, the undersized steel beams in the old concession bump out area. The drawing noted the existing beams were larger than what was discovered in the field. To resolve that issue, you'll notice on the cost report, that item's around $20,000. And that's to add reinforcing WT-shaped beam. So it's basically an I-beam, but it's the top flange is basically cut off and then it's welded to the underside of the existing beam to provide that span support. To support the future mechanical air unit that lives above that roof, and then actually we pour a concrete metal slab on deck there, or slab on metal deck there. So those were just a few items to mention, but before I yield the floor to Dan here to talk a little bit about athletic fields, you're all familiar with our summary data sheet now. It compares our original turnover date schedule for the areas to the current completion date. We just added in some completion milestones to check the Area H lobby, the gymnasium, first floor locker rooms, second floor rooms, and then the auto shop.
No, I think, I know why he does, now he's taking my place here. As far as providing you that commentary, that's pretty, you touched on a couple things that I did want to mention myself, and that's, with regard to the project schedule. Last month, we identified the impacts of abatement and select demolition, running longer, discovering a few more things, pushing the start of the work for going forward again structurally. We moved from a 5-day-a-week schedule to a 6-day-a-week schedule. Last month, I think we reported about a 2-week shift. Once it was probably 3 into 4 weeks, and then with a 6-day work week, we're down to 2 weeks. As Mike mentioned, the successor trades have been working 6 days a week, as well as premium hours during the day in order to continue to recoup time. Where we hope to capture more time, the additional scope of work that's under the slab, the tunnel restoration, ate up some of that time that we had hoped to save. So currently, we're still about 2 weeks from the anticipated delivery for first day of school. In the summary data that Mike mentioned, it provides an October finish, but I wanted to clarify what Mike just said. In the past 3 weeks, we've gone into the schedule and we've made some what we call mini milestones, or milestones to reflect the different areas of our remaining work. Like, if you look at the remaining work, the way we see it as a gymnasium. We see it as a locker room because it's got a whole type of finishes in there, resinous floors and that type of different finishes, as opposed to the second floor, which is our fitness area, a couple of classrooms up there, and then lastly, the lobby and auto shop. So by breaking down those areas into mini milestones, we have more information and we can track better the progress in each of those areas. The good news is in Mike's report, he indicates that we're into the end of September or late September. But I wanted to clarify that just to take the edge off there. Right now, the gymnasium and the second floor classrooms are reflecting a 9/9 finish. The locker room area is as late as 9/26, according to the current schedule. The opportunities in the auto shop, we would fit out similar to what we did in the construction tech, where the space is finished, but all of the equipment's not fired up. And you're not working immediately as an auto shop. You're in there for class, and then we're connecting up the equipment in the evenings. We're continuing to try to drive the project back. We've had an initial meeting with Mike McKenna and the members of our core group here on what the impact is if these locker rooms are not readily available. And we wanted to do that because it's prudent at this earliest stage of the game to make you guys aware there's the potential. You know, there's the potential of an area that won't be available for students to use every day. You know, Mike would have loved to seen those in the, you know, in the middle of August when the football program comes back to school. And that's not gonna happen, you know, that was really never gonna happen, but now we're pushing them out even into a situation where you have a middle school population and a high school population and only one set of locker rooms. That's the reality of what may come down the path here. I can say from my experience in building projects like this, we seem to have a way to get things done. Right now, we're looking at, you know, how do we install the MEPs to try to pick up time? Is there a way to sequence that work a little bit better? And we're looking at 2 shifts. So again, we're finding ways to solve the problem because we want to capture as much as we can. We just wanted to make this group aware of the potential. And then my effort's been in athletic fields. You know, I wanted to give the team here an update on where we're at. The approvals that we got last month are engaged. The 2 primary trades that are involved, or subcontractors to CJ Fucci, are actively procuring product, and that hurdle is behind us. And now the work in the field is ongoing. We are tracking to the original schedule, or we had thought we'd finish around the 2nd week of September. We're currently, I have a schedule update that I produced. I think it says 10/10 is actually what it shows today. I think I mentioned last time we spoke, you know, the dates in here are a little bit conservative, but they are for a reason, and that's because weather slows us down. Last week, we got hurt pretty bad. We were at a point where we wanted to get a subgrade inspection, you know, proof roll the earth out there after we stripped the earth off, but with the wet weather, you know, that couldn't happen. The other activity that's happening is the topsoil export. We're taking advantage of the city offering to haul that material at no cost. Load it at no cost in addition to hauling it. And that's great, but again, last week was non-productive. We've only had 2 days of hauling to date. And so there's just more time getting the site ready for the next activities, or the start of what would be Liberty Landscaping, or a subcontractor to CJ Fucci, who is really our primary synthetic sub. You know, their first activity after the grading and earthwork and storm systems are all in place, they come in and they cut a trench to build the perimeter curb system that anchors that synthetic carpet down. And so we had a meeting with Liberty Landscaping as well as Eagle Fence and CJ Fucci, and we worked out some of the detail of how they can work together and established a start date for that curb installation as being June 12th. I believe it's the date, June 10th or June 12th. So it's moving, you know, the project is moving, the earthwork is happening. We can hope for better weather. We have some good weather up through Wednesday of next week now. So moving forward. On a pricing perspective, or where I am with cost, Eagle Fence provided their cost. I went back, we did some additional clarification, I guess I'll call it, as to what we're trying to convey until we got the finalized VE drawings through Kemp's group. They did their takeoff again. We had another meeting. They're now days away from finalizing their pricing. Their pricing is coming in at or near expected. Of my other trade base, I am looking at the TC landscaping cost. That's our retaining wall credit. The trade is not in agreement with my analysis of exactly how much block is being taken out of the project, and has now wants to go back to their, so they have the supplier has an engineer that actually draws the shop drawings based on what is the current drawings. And they do sometimes have to go deeper into the earth to bear. And so legitimately, I'm waiting for his engineers to come up with the exact square foot face of block. So no new information on that. That one's gonna be just a little bit of a tug to get over the finish line. Again, I mentioned that the PR 87R1 drawings came out. They came out on 4/22. Those incorporated the VE items to the great extent, and those went back to the trade, so now they're pricing again. Next guy in line is hardscape, sidewalks, and asphalt. On a positive note, my takeoff represents the VE drawings matching our expectations, and they're being pretty close to a zero cost change, which from last month, my estimate for concrete or sidewalks, remembering not well, of a $60,000 cost. So, we're picking up money on that particular line item. Dinto Electric hasn't given me pricing yet, but that's understandable because their set of VE drawings didn't come out until last week. So they're in the pricing exercise mode. And again, the final drawings for earthwork and storm systems came out in that PR 87R1. And that's going to be our earthwork and drainage number that CJ Fuji is working on, but I haven't seen yet. So I don't have a lot of new information, just that it is tracking well to what I presented to you in April, if not a little better. The two things that are doing better, concrete, potentially the sidewalk number, and then there's the topsoil export. We had carried $40,000 to load that material, and if it all goes away because the city has their own excavator out there now, and they load it all, then you're seeing the savings in that line item. So lastly is the reminder that we have $150K in our estimate for earth that needs to be removed and replaced. And depending on what the geotechnical engineer comes out and actually says, everything we see in the field in the area of major concern, which was the junior varsity baseball infield, that earth is doing great. That's actually where the trucks are rolling in and out of the site, hauling material, and we're not seeing any subgrade issues there.
We haven't lost the truck, right?
We did not bury even an
Not that
axle.
we know of, at least.
Yeah.
So I don't have any numbers to report for you tonight, except that we're in this phase again. I'm back to getting the drawings on 4/22, getting the electrical drawings last week, and now, crunching through the takeoffs. So that's why he speaks, because he's quicker. Dean has raised a question.
As far as the tunnels underneath, can you explain to me what happened there with the tunnels? Were they on the drawings? We didn't know
The
about them?
closures were not there. I can let Mike, you want to elaborate?
Yeah, what Dan's saying is, it wasn't identified on the structural drawing, so in the areas where the old tunnel connected from I think it was building G to building A, we have to somehow close off the end walls in order to facilitate our new plumbing waste piping that's going underneath the trenches, because we gotta end up backfilling it, but how can we backfill it if there's nothing, I guess, adjoining it on the side, no foundation, so none of that was shown on the structural drawing, so we had to, form pour concrete.
So to help maybe draw a mental picture for this, if I'm gonna run pipe and it's gonna run through an old tunnel, in order for me to backfill that, I've gotta put temporary ends on the side of the tunnel that was passing through.
So you anticipated sides of the tunnel?
I didn't anticipate sides of the
didn't?
tunnel. And we had to form and pour the sides of the tunnel in order to backfill, create a path for the plumbing work. And to support the replacement slab. So where structural had picked up, where the known trenches were going to be needed to close, they always were planned to stay and exist. But when I had to punch through the sides of them, I had to support the slab on both sides.
Okay.
So in addition to that, there was a couple of spots where the foundations were deeper than we thought. There was more holes in the elevated slab than anybody anticipated. They were concealed behind walls so that they weren't discovered during, SLAM's initial survey of the space. And so that work requires structural support from below and pouring an infill slab on top. What we're very excited about, frankly, is that we'll see a slab. opened up that building. It's been open in those trenches that you saw in the pictures. You know, that's the multi-layered storm and sanitary piping that's literally taken, you know, almost a month to get in the ground and backfilled up. And now it's, you know, vapor barriers in place, dowels are in place, and we're ready to pour tomorrow morning at 7:30.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Dan, what do you anticipate these premium hours, 6-day shifts, what costs are you anticipating taking to the project for?
Well, the initial effort by the structural steel contractor and some of the work by the excavation contractor, we attributed to the delay by this select demolition. So we had our low bid, American Environmental as our abatement demolition contractor. They didn't hit their dates. They were put on notice, and they are now incurring the premium labor cost for the first 3 weeks or so of that work. I don't know if you've thrown a number together for,
Cumulatively between the concrete and steel contractor,
or no, just going forward, the part that that will hit as part of the contingency of the job. I had
say,
to,
10 grand.
yeah, I mean, a little higher.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot
It's
of
not
hours.
6 digits.
No, it's not 6
No, I
digits.
mean, when you
think
think of
it's
it,
less than
you know,
20.
Like a ballpark is, you look like $25 to $30 an hour, worst case scenario for the premium portion. And you get along,
And you
you
get,
can rack up a lot of hours for not a big bill.
and that's the benefit here is that when you're running premium and the crew sizes are smaller, like if I have a structural steel crew out there, they're just not 20 guys, they're only 6, you're not incurring a lot of cost. It's when we get to premium when I have, right now we're back up to about 55 people every day.
But your
As
6-day
we move
shifts.
forward into July and August, we're gonna be up to 70 people. You know, it's when you're paying all those guys premium. So that's where we would try to pick up an opportunity to capture it as early in the process as possible, as well as using a second shift instead of premium hours. So I can get, the thought process here is that if we take the trade that is a mechanical hydronic piping contractor and we run him during the day, but then we start an electrical contractor in the same space in the afternoon, all I'm paying for is the delta between working normal hours, working second shift. It's less than premium. It also has the benefit of putting a mechanical contractor that I have during the day starts again fresh the next morning, you know, and he's just picking up where he left off. I have to have some trades that support each other, you know, it's I can't have no electricians there if I need to have an electrician there because I'm doing something that requires, you know, raceway in the wall. But it's that analysis that we're going through to try to pick up the time as early in the game as we can. I mean, recognizing now we're still in mid-May, and we have 3 months to pull this off.
Thank you.
Any other questions? John?
Good evening. As you can tell, as construction kind of kicks up and demolition starts to slow down, there's more testing and inspection going on. Right now, we're up to field report 108. We're tracking 23 items and met with ONG the other day to go over a strategy to get them done. The majority of those are going to be taken care of over the summertime when classes are out. There hasn't been a CES report. The Nash did come out and issue a field report, and they do the civil side of things, and they didn't cite anything unusual in their report. Special inspections, which are looking at foundations, concrete, reinforcing, and steel. They had several reports. They reviewed and inspected the reinforcing and building part H, which you saw the foundations for there, and there were no issues. The steel roof deck that Dan mentioned was inspected, and there were no non-conforming issues. They've done some concrete tests, and they're all coming up to at least 25% above their design capacity. So
We're using what's called high early strength. We don't have time for 28 days. It's not part of the project. The fact that we're pouring concrete foundations a week ago and standing steel on them, middle of next week, we have to use high early strength. So you have to have early strength concrete. Right out of the gate, they all came up to strength. 7-day breaks were all at 100%.
They're looking good. Normally for 4,000, you're waiting your 28 days before you could put steel on it, but in this case, they're able to get on it within 7 days. So Tri-State's been doing those tests and inspections. There hasn't been an IES commissioning. There's nothing to commission just yet, but there has been some startup testing. Your 681 new data drops that are in the middle school were tested and they all passed. Testing and balancing is ongoing not only in the middle school, it's also continuing in the high school. That should be wrapping up. Middle school, they're starting on Monday.
I'm sorry, for what?
Middle school, testing and balancing
Yes.
on Monday. And construction waste, which does not include the building demolition, it was only 150 cubic yards of waste. So that's starting to taper down as the area of new construction starts to get smaller. That's getting smaller as well. And that is it.
Thanks, John.
Johnny,
Yes, sir.
when's the last time we got a report from CES? Or you guys?
We actually did get one, John, just, they were on site in the middle of last week.
Okay.
Didn't have much to say because they were walking through the middle school, and the middle school is pads are dropping. So their report basically had nothing to say about the middle school. They took a quick look around the renovation, but you can see where that's at, so there's nothing for them to see there either.
Okay.
So although they were on site last week, their report is only a page and a half.
Okay, next item is the application. You have the application plus each subcontractor to O&G. It's $2,060,643.15. Have a motion to approve. Doug, Casey.
Second.
Thanks, Case.
Any discussion? Remember, you always get the list and then each front page. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Dan, you're up.
PCOs,
Oh, okay, Mike.
Delegate.
PCO 404R1.
Well, what time do you wanna get out?
What'd you think? Dan, you couldn't do it.
He causes carpal tunnel after signing these things.
Only 2 hours.
That's it, only 20.
Yeah. PCO 404R1, it's a smaller owner cost of $2,433. In the area of the existing transformer next to the football field, we installed the large block retaining wall. The transformer pad was actually sitting 2 feet lower than the top of the retaining wall, so it created an issue with pooling water. The initial RFI response suggested to step down the retaining wall, which would have lowered and stepped down the fence as well, and then we would have also had to reset the top of the retaining wall cap. The initial cost was submitted at over $12,500, so we went back to the drawing board and we ended up regrading the area, creating a drainage swale to divert the pooling water away from the transformer towards a pooling area connected to the wall under drains. PCO 469R1, it's an owner cost of $18,000 and some change. There is an outdoor equipment storage room that was intended to be used by facilities, the potential to store gas-powered equipment. In review of the drawings, the engineer decided to add an exhaust fan, and associated ductwork, insulation, controls, air balancing to the space. There was a small cost included by the mason for a loose lintel to support the main above the louver. The electrical power is being hooked up to the motor at no additional cost to the owner. PCO 542R1, smaller owner cost of $1,387. During the MEP coordination process, we discovered that due to the location of the masonry wall on the first floor, mechanical and plumbing piping rise up through the elevated slab and ended up being exposed in your future fitness weight room. So the submitted cost is to fur out that specified wall type up in that fitness room so you can conceal the exposed piping. PCO 547, it's a larger owner cost of $10,645. This is actually for a dishwasher that is specified at the science lab prep rooms. Unfortunately, a quantity of 1 was not indicated on the equipment schedule. Therefore, an additional model, similar to all other science lab prep rooms located in the high school and middle school, was required based on the response to the RFI. PCO 548 is a CM contingency cost of $9,721. It's for premium labor expended during the occupied Phase 2A turnover. If you recall, we spent a lot of time cleaning the building prior to the turnover, and some of that was on premium hours that are reflected in this PCO. During buyout, we actually carry a certain amount of premium time as well for a certain amount of Saturdays and certain crew size. So the general trades cost at over $3,000 actually represents the overage from what was carried at the time of bid. PCO 549 is an owner cost of $11,657 for ledge removal on the eastern portion of the site coming in from Daily Drive, right near where the ONG trailers are currently set up. So during excavation for the storm system in that area, we encountered ledge, so we had to remove it, and the work was performed on a time and material basis and verified by the ONG superintendent. PCO 550 is an owner cost of $5,088. There was an unknown water line lateral that entered into the existing high school, and there was no shutoff valve locally near that line. The only way to remove the lateral was to shut down service to the entire site. Shutdown included Aquarian's assistance on President's Day break, so you can kill the service, cut out the water line, cap it, and then backfill it. Line was not indicated on the utility demolition plans, therefore it's an owner cost. PCO 551 is an owner cost of $11,487 in an effort to provide additional safety measures for the late arrival student population coming in from the Daily Drive entrance. It was discussed that creating a temporary walk path out of an 1 1/4 inch process from where the old baseball field is to the existing sidewalk that surrounds the athletic field track. That would help prevent any safety conflicts with students in the demolition, site work operations, and heavy equipment. PCO 552 is a back charge between trades. There was a hydronic piping leak at the Area B lower level that required some extensive cleanup and replacement of flooring tile. Again, it's a back charge between trades. PCO 553 is an owner cost of $2,321. Per owner request, it was discovered that there were no provisions for a working ice machine in the occupied building from the January to June semester. We relocated the existing ice machine from the existing school into the custodial closet in the E1 area, and the plumber made connections so the ice maker could be used for the rest of the semester. PCO 554 is another owner cost of $1,428. In the lower level PR40R5 change, receptacle was added on the green screen wall of the video production room, along with acoustical wall panels. The submitted cost represents reversing the outlet to the other side of the wall in the other space, removing the acoustical panels, and patching the drywall hole from moving the receptacle. PCO 555 is a CM contingency cost of $2,255. There were 3 locations where the steel column grounds in the area A and B curved corridor weren't able to be concealed beneath the finished floor, so they were left exposed due to constraints with the welding machine. In review with SLAM, we provided steel enclosures that were painted to cover the exposed grounds. PCO 556, this is a $0 cost. It was noticed that the drawings did not identify the secondary curtain and rod at the shower locations in both the locker room areas in area G and H. Thankfully, the general trades contractor looked ahead and already carried 2 curtains and rods for all the locations that were in question with the PR. PCO 557 is a CM contingency cost of $1,295. When the electrical contractor went to shut down the existing school main breaker, it would not close, so they reached out to the Southern New England Electrical Testing, also known as SNEET, so they could emergency call to lube and reset the main breaker. PCO 558, again, is a back charge between J. Daly and ONG for supervision required to oversee the HVAC air and water balancing activities that continue to occur on second shift. PCO 559 is an owner cost of $9,850. After occupancy, the school had a need for an added copier and microwave in the B1 faculty workroom. There were no provisions for dedicated circuits for an added copier or microwave, nor provisions for a communication cable for the copier. There was a small cost included to shift the whiteboard over to accommodate the new layout, introducing the new copier, and some ceiling pad replacements were required, resulting from the work that occurred. PCO 560 is a credit return to the project in the amount of $4,049. The future weight room fitness space on the second floor of Area H had 2 columns that were scheduled to receive the spray-applied fireproofing and aluminum column covers. I think everyone here agrees that weights and aluminum column covers don't mix, so we took a credit on the column covers and then we changed to an intumescent fireproof columns in lieu of spray applied. There was a little small material delta to increase to intumescent, but overall savings to the project. PCO 561 is an owner cost of $1,862. We realized there was no cane rail shown at the bottom of stair 4 in the middle school. That's in area E. So we asked the question to the design team and noted that it is required and it's represented in the cost above. PCO 565 is an owner cost of $45,989. So if you recall, SLAM had issued a proposal request for 3 site signs. 1 mounted to the gate entering in Daily Drive, 1 with concrete foundations that is internally illuminated coming in from Winthrop. And the last one being the refurbished existing electronic display board a little further up the road as you come in from Winthrop. It's actually right where the old O&G trailers were located before we moved up top. So this cost is only for the signs itself, the installation of the signs, and the electrical work associated. Still working on getting the foundation cost from the site work contractor, but I anticipate it any day now, and that cost is expected to come around $20,000. PCO 566 is another back chart between trades, nothing more there. PCO 567 is a CM contingency cost of $2,424, a reoccurring one here at these meetings for the April period of temporary toilets. PCO 568 is an owner cost of $3,437. This is part of the grant money for the athletic fields. In order for SLAM to develop a scope of work for relining the existing sewer and storm piping beneath the fields, we had to hire a pipe scoping company under CJ Fucci to provide video recording of the existing conditions and send it to SLAM. PCO 569, an order cost of $5,998. The stage left ramp 2 was specified with pendant light fixtures that ended up raising a code conflict with the adjacent fire protection head in the ramp during occupancy review with the local AHJs. So in order to rectify the code conflict, while weighing the most cost-effective option and architectural appeal, the group elected to replace the pendant fixtures with the recessed cans that are actually in the other side of the ramp on stage right, ramp number 3. So it required floor protection, drywall remediation, and painting costs. PCO 570 is a small owner cost of $911. There is a hallway in the area F first floor in the middle school where there are no lighting controls shown on the contract documents, so the cost is represented in the above.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
I always have questions. I have a couple. The ice, what do we use the ice machine for?
Training, ice. They get injured, ice.
Okay.
After practice.
Copier in the dining room?
And if it's a faculty room,
Faculty workroom.
Oh, it's a faculty
Faculty
dining,
work.
so, but it's
The dining room.
it's a dining room and a faculty room.
got it, okay. And are the toilets now reaching our top over budget item on the project?
Say that again?
Have the toilets reached the point where they're the most over budget item on the project? Dan laughs about it,
No,
cause
there's other items that far exceed the.
Oh, you know what, we're not gonna talk about those.
yeah, I know. And my last one is the lights on the walkway in the auditorium, was it designed that way, or did we change something that caused us to have pendant lights that didn't meet code? Like, that's just an oddball one for,
It is the fixtures that were on the ramp were the same, they were specified to be the same type that you see in the body of the auditorium. So if you're sitting in the seating in the auditorium and you look at all those light fixtures, that's a particular type of fixture. I think there was an error in the designation of that light fixture, because the other ramp had recessed cans and they were just off by 1 digit. But the ones on stage left were pendants like the ones we had in the other space. So we actually, because we had the fixtures at the time and we were finishing up the auditorium in order to turn it over, we installed them, but we all kind of said, what's going on here? I have to actually take these nice, large pendant fixtures and cut the stems down to 2 inches and stick them up right to the ceiling. Otherwise, people are gonna pump their head. And then they do create a conflict with the adjacent fire protection. They just created a dead zone in the distribution of water. So once we discovered it, then we asked the question, do you want to go back to recessed cans here like you have on the other side? And the answer was yes. It solved both problems. It would have been more costly to move the fire protection around for about the same cost, and we wouldn't have got the architectural benefit. We actually did that work over the April break and wrapped it up before the play, which didn't get mentioned, but there was a play last week.
Yes.
And that was cool. I hung around, watched the people come in, and then I left. I just wanted to make sure that it went off properly.
I got a couple questions. In addition to some, this was missed in the design and that was missed in the design. For instance, this, very small amount, that breaker that had to be reset.
In the existing high
Yeah.
school.
What is it?
Not a design thing, so.
No, I know that, but, I mean, why did that breaker fail so early and why isn't it covered under some sort of
Existing,
warranty?
it's the old
school,
building.
main breaker.
part.
Got you. It's all right. And then this one jumped out at me just because it's them. This 11 grand for MJ Daily.
Yep.
Had they been more cognizant of the schedule, would this second shift work be necessary?
No. So what they've been doing is balancing the water side of your system on second shift since about the third week of January.
Right.
And so, as a rule, OMG puts a superintendent on the project
Of
because there are
course.
people working inside.
Right. No, I get it, but they put themselves in this position.
Oh, yeah.
And
Which is
so,
why they're
and-
paying for our superintendent.
And
They're
we're
paying
bringing-
for the
We're
superintendent.
bringing someone in to watch them because we need to have someone there.
No.
They are paying for our oversight.
That's the
because
back
they
charge
do their
right
job.
now.
Right, it's zero cost.
That's a back
to the
charge.
city.
That's
Okay.
And today happens to be actually the last day. He's finishing the water balance on the second floor
Okay.
as we speak. And then
Good start.
first floor, first shift again next week.
Those pendants that you put in, took out, can they be used somewhere else?
We hope so. They're, if you have something, they're substantial, they're 16 to 18 inches tall, 6-inch, 8-inch cones.
Yeah.
They're not exactly like the ones, in the field of the auditorium, you have two types. The ones that are in the back over the mezzanine is the type that was in the ramp. And so if any one of those fails in 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years, you'll have 5 extra. Or if you find some other use in some other area. But they're all of a voltage type that can be reutilized.
The extra water line that we ran into,
Yeah, no valve.
it must have come into the building though.
It came into the building.
So where does that come in the process? Did somebody walk the
So-
building and not realize it's there, or how does that?
So yeah, there was just nobody realized that the pipe that was in the mechanical room over by the auto shop, that there's no way to shut off that water, 9 times out of 10, you're looking at a pipe coming out of the floor, there's always a curb cop.
Sure.
For a common residential term, there's always a way to shut off the water. But in this circumstance, there was no way to shut it off except by turning it off the main. So at some point in the construction of that wing of the building, somebody decided to put a T and bring water into a second spot back in 1962, and was able to do it without putting a valve in, without putting a shut off in. And yeah, I have to tell you, I'll just say the as-built information on the existing water line is not quite accurate from 60 years ago.
Got it.
We are in the throes now we're in Aquarion's vision. Aquarion now is highly engaged in the project. They're collecting our as-bills to put the permanent, as-bills for the longevity of the utility, now being Aquarion, as well as you guys will always have our as-built information. But Aquarion comes with a cost. As soon as they get involved, they want to charge it.
Got it. Thanks, Tim.
I got a question on the heat slash AC system, the HVAC system. When will that be 100% like set?
So in the various elements or various areas of the building, right? So in the high school portion, all your systems are operating, comfort levels are good. There's just this verification process of checking the balance of the water. And that would almost get them to a point where we could finalize or accept the system. But because they're not finished with it as of today, they've elected to not continue to go second shift and balance the last remaining first floor areas, but instead to go back to first shift and then go back to that space once student population leaves again.
Okay.
So they'll be doing the water balancing in the existing occupied high school until about middle to third week of July. And that's when the high school portion will be finished.
Okay.
The middle school portion, again, balancing, all the equipment's been started, but now we're actually gonna turn it on and leave it on and make the air balance and space condition work. That process starts tomorrow and starts Monday and finishes around the 1st of July when we go back into the other school. So that portion, with the exception of the piece we haven't built yet.
Right.
Then we have the piece that we still have to build, and that'll be the last piece of the puzzle before, the whole system gets commissioned. The benefit, or the positive side here, is that the middle school is balancing as expected. It's on schedule, the space will be under control before you get to the dog days of July, right? Your furniture will arrive and the air conditioning will be on. So that's the benefit. The hard part, what we've always known it was gonna be the hard part, is that the last piece of the puzzle, the air handler that sits over what used to be the concession stand, there's a new rooftop unit that sits up there. That services all of the locker rooms, classroom spaces above it, the lobby and the locker rooms between the middle school and high school gyms. All of that commissioning and final verifications won't happen until that areas are complete and will be pushed into a second shift commissioning process for that area.
The reason why I asked is because there's still some inconsistencies in the rooms. So like one room might be cold and then a room down the hall is warm. So,
Yeah, we've been, honestly, on this project, I've taken the personal interest, I capture everything I get from Brian Scott, and then I keep it in a log as far as getting that information out. What we do discover on occasion is that a valve will be closed when it should be opened, just that the wiring is 180 degrees. So we discover those and we wrap those up. And we only find those as they're going through these areas over the last 3 weeks or so. So if there's any more that we run into, those isolated, situations occur. But overall, on a comfort level, when they moved in, I had, probably in the order of 15 to 20 space condition concerns or issues that were raised. And then since that time, only an additional 20 or so. So, for the magnitude of the school, the number of space condition complaints has been less than average.
So will we expect when the middle school opens to also have the same trend?
No, because we're starting that process earlier. We should be through the balancing and verifications through the middle school by the time you get to August.
And this balancing wasn't complete in January for the high school when we moved in, you're saying?
It was not. Right, it was not. It didn't finish, today it's not finished. Today they're finished. So air is complete with the exception of a couple of what's known as cabinet unit heaters, the little units that sit in the ceiling in the stairwells, and fan curler units. Air is complete in the high school with the exception of those. Water is complete in the high school with the exception of the first floor.
Have we looked now that the building's functional? We had a whole bunch of energy efficiency stuff, hey, this building's going to be world-class energy efficient. Do we start to look and now that the systems are being validated and turned up and balanced, are we hitting those milestones back to the Board of Ed would think?
Yeah, we haven't, I haven't done any trending or power demand. I don't know. I haven't really spent, I haven't gotten any feedback. Dean, you could probably see if how your energy consumption, what the energy consumption is of the high school. I don't know if there's information from SLAM, who did the initial energy studies on the building, of a partially occupied building. But it'd be interesting to know if the
Yeah, just
power
if
demands
we're hitting
are.
those milestones or
there.
close to them. Obviously, the building has undergone some changes along the way, but
Yeah, I think you'll be at a point when the middle school, now you've got almost, you probably got 285,000 square feet of your building under control. And it's at that point that you'd be able to compare where the energy consumption levels are compared to a model that was created pre-construction.
and if we
There
are
are
hitting,
sub-metering on the various components of the building, but I have not commissioned those yet. It's gonna be one of the last things we do.
but it does get looked at then.
Yeah, there's a whole sub-meter bank in the electrical room of the main high school, that isolates your primary power demands and can give you real-time information. It's reported on the BMS.
Were there any performance guarantees in the contracts for?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Thank you.
We have to get access to the BMS data in order to get that. We get access, because CES can get access.
You're asking?
If CES can get access to the BMS data.
They,
I don't have access to the BMS data.
It's not it's a proprietary software that's not something that anybody can go to the internet and get to. Currently, the only workstation, there's 2 workstations in the high school, but you have to physically go to the workstation. When we turn over, Dean will get it, he'll get the software, so that he can have remote information on his phone.
Yeah, no.
The other way is utility bills, if you have.
Yeah, we have our past bills that we paid, it's, yeah, we can look at that and give you what the kilowatt that we used.
Yep, that information is gonna not arrive until July.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve all the PCOs? Pat, second? Robin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next one, analysis of payment, I give you that every month, where you up to 146 million that we've expended. Payment of invoices, first one is for B&L companies, $8,085. Have a motion to approve. Ellen and Kathy. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, next one is the first bill for SLAM, $30,918.75. This is on the major project, not the turf project. I have a motion to approve that. Maman and Casey. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one is SLAM, $77,275.55. This is designated for the turf project. Have a motion, Pat, second, Robin. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one is the one I just gave you tonight, Innovative Engineering, for $1,094.50. Have a motion for approval. So, John? Doug?
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. The next one is, I do it every month, but, so I haven't given it to you, but here it is. This is the project budget summary. What it shows you, the categories, it shows you the budget. It shows you the paid to date. You look at the 146,930 is the same as the one I gave you. And then it says the balance. A couple of items that you see the update on the encumbrance items. On the back sheet, you'll have all the encumbrances that means they haven't been PCO'd yet to me, so that's why they're encumbrance. And Mike is still working on the pricing for those. These may not be the final pricing, because Mike goes back to the contractor, so he just gives me an estimate and I put it in. So you see that encumbrances of $433,941. Owner contingency at the time was $132,000. We have credits of $1,330,528, and we have balance in contingency of $1,028,000. The next breakdown is construction cost. Construction is $152 million. Contingency is $818. It's different from O&G's because I do not have any encumbrances in that. He has a list of encumbrance. He hasn't given me the PCOs, so I can't put them on my list, but you have his list. And the CM fee up to date, so that brings it to $162,790. Then the turf project encumbrances, we encumbered this synthetic turf. We encumbered the installation, that's Liberty. The lining of the pipe, $93,000. Slam balance of $97,000. O&G's fee of $158,000. And the geotesting, we just received his contract of $4,000. We had budgeted $15,000. So that's the breakdown of $5,124,000 against a balance of $5,009,000. Again, we don't have Fuji. I'm not hungry yet. Fuji thing, we also have in that difference is $154,000 for unsuitables, which hopefully may not be using. We also in that balance is $110,000 for contingency, and the rest is the fence, the concrete, and Fuji's items and this fence. So I just want to give you an update. We get that every month. Comments for the good of the order. John,
Sir, thank you very much.
Doug,
I'm good, thank you.
Alan,
Seth?
Case,
Also good, thank you.
Donna,
Great, thank you.
Mike, thank you, good report, appreciate it.
All set, thank you.
I was gonna speak on Dean's behalf, but he's here.
Oh.
He's gotten some complaints about the grass already
Yes,
around the entrance. So he's in a position, I don't need to speak for you, but I will if you want. He's in a
Doing a
position
good job.
that he has to get it done one way or another, through the project or through our regular sources, and obviously they're gonna be looking to be reimbursed.
we haven't received we received a response today. We put the contractor, CJ Fuji's landscaping, TC Landscaping, we reached out to them and asked, when are you gonna mow the first time? When are you gonna mow the first time? They own maintenance of the field, of the grass areas and plantings until acceptance. They responded thus far only by, we'll get back to you. I don't have an answer. Consistent with the conversation we had with Dean yesterday, if you want to pull the trigger on doing it yourself and then we take the funds away from the trade, it's a little premature, but all we need officially is to give them a 48-hour notice to get it done. So if you're going to pull the trigger and we want to pull the trigger before Wednesday of next week, let us know and we'll put the notice out.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll give him till when to do it?
Okay, so we'll
No,
move
I'm
forward with a
asking, so
notice.
when, you saying by Wednesday?
Well, if he gives him the notice
It's the
today,
front area when you
tomorrow.
first drive in, it's probably about 2 feet tall right now.
It's over the fire hydrant.
Yeah, you can't even see the fire hydrant, so I'm surprised we haven't heard from that entity, so,
Okay, so we'll notice them tomorrow.
okay.
And then, and that makes you free to go.
Yeah,
on
it's not a
Wednesday.
ton, I mean, somebody can go to the weed whacker and knock it out in 20 minutes or a half hour, especially that area. The rest of the building, like in the courtyard and stuff like that,
Yeah,
it has to be done, but it doesn't have, it's not as critical and as an eyesore as
Okay.
that there.
I'll make the call tomorrow
All right.
and
Let
see
me know.
which way, if the trade is gonna respond or be non-responsive and which we can notice them.
Yeah, it's tough, my guys have a tough time keeping up with the grass with the rain, I get it, but like I say, it's one main area. Dan, another thing you
Boy,
did,
it came in,
Oh, yeah.
was
Yeah.
not there and now it's there.
I see you sent out something as far as summer work.
Yeah, Brian.
Did you put anything together for the admin location for Board of Ed as far as what work and what time that's gonna happen, or a schedule when that's gonna happen? Or
Yeah,
can you?
more so we wanna make sure we're anticipating not impacting your ability to move into that space. There is a change forthcoming in relation, or how the public accesses the Board of Ed suites, came under additional scrutiny. We went through it a year and a half ago, we came up with a plan. When Superintendent Wilson got involved, he saw some loopholes in that process. And so we have a set of proposal request documents that we got that talk about adding card readers and things. And what Dean's referring to is they're establishing a move-in schedule for the Board of Ed to move from Midgeon Ave into the building. And when we're doing that work, we're gonna be encumbering both ways in. So we'll absolutely assist in, it's not a ton of work for us. It's 2 weeks worth of work, but we don't wanna do it at the wrong time.
There will be an elevator in operation during that time though, right? It's not like we won't
Yeah,
be,
the elevator won't be affected as far as its operation. When they come out to do the reprogramming,
Yeah.
then it'll be offline for a day.
it's one day. Okay.
Sue, anything?
No,
No. John? No, I don't.
Great meeting.
Just gonna throw it to you, Mike, you're fast.
Yeah, thanks.
Dan, you do a great job, Dan, but he is light.
Robin?
Like you over here, right?
Dean? No. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn at 6:08? Oh, yeah, next meeting is June 19th, I'm sorry. Pat and KC.